Live with four boys, coffee please. Today on the blog, we're talking knitting a sweater is like childbirth. Naomi and I have finished our Out of the Fog knitted sweaters. Woohoo! The quick version of this blog post is this. On March 19th, 2018, Naomi sent me a pattern from Ravelry as a gift, and on October 13, sometime around midnight, I finished my sweater. Longtime knitter, Naomi had finished hers long ago. Those of you who knit are thinking, what's the rest of the story? You are so wise. Those of you who don't knit are thinking, this knitting must be the easiest thing in the world. And I'm wondering how we should break the news to them. Knitting this sweater was kind of like childbirth. You know you're getting something good in the end, but the process of birthing is something one does not care to repeat. A brief review to catch you up on this. In January 2018, dear Naomi dropped me off some knitting needles and yarn, and then she left me to drive across the country with her husband and boys, and I had to learn on my own. She says she is a terrible teacher because of this. I feel her not being here saved our friendship because the frustration level of learning to knit is high. You can read the adventure of the beginning here. Beginning knitting. To accurately portray learning to knit, you can watch this video. It's hilarious. It's been posted to my timeline numerous times, and it still makes me laugh so hard I cry every time, seriously. Because knitting seemed to be my new favorite thing ever, I decided to knit a sweater in February. Remember, I was a new knitter as of January. I went all rogue and began it on my own. You can read about us finding the yarn here. I think this photo of my husband pretty much sums it up. I went to Hobby Lobby and bought some yarn I loved, and I set out to make a sweater all rogue-like. I could figure this out. It would take me a while, yeah, but I began knitting and I made amazing time. I mean, I'm talking like I was so proud of myself. Until I ran into a problem. And since Naomi was clear across the country, I sent her a photo and said, this doesn't seem right. I'd been using my favorite sweater, worn since I was pregnant for son 2, as my pattern. Naomi called me. Honey, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to take it all out. I hung up and cried. And in all honesty, I kept this much of my twisted stitch made wrong sweater like this until I was desperate for yarn. But that's when she sent me Out of the Fog raglan sweater pattern as a gift. Let's remember those words. A gift. And she said, I'll make the sweater with you. Here's that pattern on Ravelry. The beginning. She was in a truck somewhere in the country, and it took me 2 hours on the phone with her to get this sweater started. 2 hours. She says she doesn't remember this. I do. I was sure this was going to be the death of me. After 2 hours of work, this is what I had to show for it. When Naomi would make it home for a day or two, she would bring her sweater over, give me pointers, and write all over the pattern. She was always knitting ahead of me so she could help me get to the next step. I love this picture. What I never did take a photo of is after this photo, I kept knitting and I missed a whole step. And when Naomi looked it over, she told me to look away, and she pulled it out. Pulled out all those hours of work in moments and balled it up for me, and it went back to this size, if not smaller. And I started the sweater again. We have lost count of how many phone calls, texts, YouTube videos we have sent back and forth to each other to get us along in this sweater. We have too many photos of my butt like this. I would have shown her I would have to show her how far I was compared to my ratty sweater I love and it was replacing. I wanted it to be the same length. Naomi has the patience of a saint, and I had full faith in her that she could get me through. I could write on all the things this sweater, or even knitting in general, has taught me, but it would be way too long. It's literally a book worth of lessons learned, and I'm really thankful for the learning. Look, we have collars on our sweaters. In August, I was camping with my mom, and I had brought the sweater to work on, and I received an email. The pattern we were following had gotten so many complaints, it had been rewritten. You can't make that up. I printed that thing off as soon as I got home. But because we are insane, we were so far along with the pattern, and Naomi had made all the notes on it to get us through that we never even looked at the new pattern. Look, I have an arm. Around this time, I had run out of yarn. I'd asked Hobby Lobby for more since it wasn't in the store, and they assured me it was on its way. I kept checking, and then I got the news. Oh, so sorry. That yarn's been discontinued. I cried. I put my head down and cried. I was so close, but I wasn't close enough. My dad, my dear, wonderful father, painstakingly untangled a thing of yarn for me that I had knotted up terribly, and that, dear people, is the yarn that is all around my collar. It's like a forever hug from my dad. Harbor Freight. I don't think it's ever been used for yarn before. Eli, son 3, went with me to find new yarn to finish the collar. The knitting person was not on hand that day at Hobby Lobby, and so we had to guesstimate what I would need. Yeah, there was no pressure with that. But we found a color we thought would work and had a fun day together. When I see the pink collar, I will always think how Eli helped me so much through this sweater. That boy can knit and create and amazes me constantly. The collar on the sweater gave me such a fit. It would not stay on the needles. I was always recatching stitches, and I was sure this thing would never get done. I didn't realize how huge this collar really was, and I have no idea how it was even on the tiny needles I was using. When it came time to end this sweater, I feel Naomi's text message was all in caps and "bind off and be done." It was such a surreal feeling. It's done. The sweater is really done. I felt like I had given birth and the baby was in my arms, and now I had to go out into the world, and I just didn't have the heart to send it out. I wanted to treasure it alone for a bit. I only sent a few people, Naomi, obviously, my mom, and other people, a photo of the finished project. What an adventure. The first time I wore this sweater out, I wanted one person, just one person, to ask me where I had gotten it so I could say, "Oh, this? Oh, I made it." I know, total pride. We walked into church, and my new friend Kate took my hand and then said, "This sweater, I love it." I beamed. I made it. Kate is my new most favorite. Last night, October 25th, Naomi and I got together and Jake took a bunch of photos of us, and then we sat down and recorded a YouTube video in my dining room of the story of the sweater. It's all a snippet, really. But Naomi knows all the technical terms, while it was really hard. Here's that video. My face captures it all. Over the weekend, a dear, dear friend came over and she took family photos of us. My boys keep asking me if I'm going to wear this sweater, and I assure them they will get tired of seeing me in it. I made sure that I scheduled the family photos when the sweater was done. Abby LaFountain caught this photo. This pretty much sums it all up. Pure joy. All the love. Much like childbirth. It's hard. It feels as if you will never be done. You don't really want to ever repeat it. There is no preparing for it, and you surely wouldn't take back a moment of it. Thank you so much for this wonderful gift, Naomi. The end. Our next project is socks. It went terrible last night. However, Naomi keeps assuring me, I did a sweater. I'm sure I can finish socks. So thanks for listening, and be sure to check out this post, which is Knitting is Like Childbirth, because you're going to want to see all the links and hear our interview. Thanks so much.